Hello and welcome to Market Insight. I am Lavina Emma. Today, we're diving into the Nigerian capital markets and what financial experts are predicting for the second quarter of 2024. Now, the Nigerian Exchange Limited closed the first quarter of 2024 on a high note, fueled by renewed investor confidence in listed companies. This superb performance is a significant achievement for NGX, notwithstanding the prevailing economic adversities such as heightened inflation, currency depreciation, and ongoing security challenges. Now, this positive momentum has market operators filled with optimism for a bullish and active primary quarter in the second quarter of 2024. So on today's show, I have a guest who has actually pioneered the alternatives to fuel right now. His name is Mr. Nutsu Jojo Cyril. My guest is going to discuss how he delved into this alternatives to fuel. So he's joining us via Zoom this morning. Mr. Nutsu Jojo Cyril is popularly called Jojo Amani. He's an information and communication technologist. He's the former head of ICT unit of the Office of the Honorable Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation. He's also an initiator of processes that gave birth to the national policy on methanol fuel production technology. He's in the front line promoting the proper implementation of the policy. He's also an advocate of good governance through deployment of appropriate technologies to solve human, social, political, and economic challenges. So welcome to Market Insight, Mr. Cyril.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here once again.
Well, I'm glad to have you on the program this morning. So we're going to be talking about different energy crisis happening right now, particularly in Nigeria. We have the issue of the increase in electricity tariffs, first of all, and also there's an impending issue. I'm sure you noticed over the weekend that there were fuel queues at some petrol stations in Lagos. So apart from the issue of fuel, there's also the electricity tariff, which was also increased, and Nigerians are not enjoying this current hardship. It's already tough before these things were increased, and now it's almost looking like we have an insensitive government, but I don't think that's the case. So now, options. Now, what do you consider for renewable options in terms of, first of all, let's start with electricity. I know there are some people who have reason to use solar panels and other renewable energy options, but as a pioneer for renewable energy options for fuel, what would you recommend in the case of electricity?
Yes, I will start by saying, in all, we are talking about productivity. The hardship in the land is all about how productive the people are and what government is doing to aid productivity. So if you are talking about productivity, you are talking about electricity, power. And I'm glad that this topic today is for us to look into alternative energy sources and how sustainable they can be. Let me start by saying that Nigeria has all the raw materials needed to generate quality electricity to power high production lines, industries. But the challenge here is that we've not exhibited appropriate will to ensure that we deploy appropriate technologies to have these raw materials utilized to generate electricity. Let me start by saying electricity can be generated through different means. We have the hydro, we have the solar, we have the wind, we equally have the fossil fuel wing of electricity generation. But coming to what I think we should be discussing here, I think we should be discussing one of the basic raw materials that is in abundance that can be used in electricity generation, and that is the natural gas resources. And also the biomass, the waste, what's the so-called waste that we generate, the decomposable municipal waste. But looking at it critically, I want us to take a look at natural gas. What can natural gas do when it comes to quality electricity generation in Nigeria? Natural gas can do a lot. Number one, natural gas can actually be used directly to power gas turbines to generate electricity. The same natural gas can be used to power our local home generators, those called lister generators, to generate electricity. But how do we now harness this natural gas to achieve this? That becomes a challenge. Presently, this natural gas is being vented, flared, and so to say, harnessed, but not in a quantity that will help us solve our energy problems. So how do we harness the ones that are being flared and vented? We have to harness them by converting them into a much more useful liquid that will help us have a value chain that will empower citizens. What is this liquid? The methanol liquid. Talking about methanol, and that is why the Federal Executive Council in 2019 approved of the National Policy of Methanol Fuel Production Technology. Why did the policy come into existence? The policy came into existence because methanol finds its uses in a lot of sectors of the economy. And one of the sectors of the economy is power generation. And if you want to use methanol to generate power, they have to produce methanol. But presently, methanol is not produced commercially in Nigeria. We might say it's being synthesized in some labs, privately and government-wise, but the production outfit to serve for commercial purpose is not yet there. Why the delay? Why don't we have that? If we had methanol generation in Nigeria, we would definitely have a system where this product will be used to power electricity generation plants. And the quality of electricity that will be generated will be so reliable to the point that it can be used on any production line, any industry whatsoever in the country. So if I am to suggest, I would suggest that while looking at other forms of energy generation, electricity generation, let us take a critical look at implementing the National Policy of Methanol Fuel Production. And by so doing, having raw material utilized properly and having methanol on ground to use and power the energy sector to solve energy crisis in Nigeria. That is what I think should be focused for now. Thank you.
Okay, but Mr. Cyril, now how accessible is methanol? As we know, like you said, it's not produced in such large quantities in Nigeria right now. So how will most people be able to get easy access to it? Because, you know, Nigerians are complaining about these high electricity tariffs, and we need options actually right now. We need options for most citizens. We can't even, people living in the cities require options for this situation. So how easy is it for them to get access to something like methanol? I was thinking maybe other renewable energy sources that are easily accessible, like we have the sunlight, wind power. These days, people are even using sawdust and also the waste from farm production. For example, poultry farmers, the waste, I understand they can use it to power their farms or any other means to turn it into electricity for them. So how can we make this kind of renewable energy option in large quantities for more people in the country?
Let me state clearly that methanol, as I earlier said, is just being synthesized in labs so far. There's no production line that has methanol to be sold commercially in Nigeria. What we have in Nigeria is the idea that we need to produce methanol. So say in almost every imported. So Nigeria already is a when we have the raw materials to produce this metal. In 2021, through the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources, CL and board and one other company signed a business investment billion naira to build a methanol plant in Brass. As it stands today, we are yet to see during the signing ceremony, the stakeholders made us to understand that this plant will be functioning before, if I'm not mistaken. But so to say, as we speak now, we are yet to see any feasible or remarkable work being done for this plant to be functioning. So if we are looking at deploying methanol to solve our energy crisis, then we have to start from the scratch. What is the scratch? We have to have on-ground methanol production plants. We can't run away from the fact the global economy is tilting towards methanol. You see, I want to give you an instance. With the GSM phones we use today, long before we started using GSM phones in commercial quantity in Nigeria here, our neighboring countries, Benin Republic, Togo, they all had GSM phones operating for about a decade before we even started using it here. So most times we appear to come late, but it's better late than never. But in the case of methanol value chain technology to solve our energy crisis, I think the time is now. Now, when I say now, I mean now. Government needs to go into PPP, public-private partnership, to ensure that within the shortest time frame, we have methanol plants, modular methanol plants that are in the sizes of 40-feet container, mobile, dotted around the country where you have natural gas and other feedstocks for methanol production. It might appear to take time, but if we start today, in the next 18 months to 2 years, a methanol plant in a modular capacity that will produce about 30,000 liters a day. And if it produces about 30,000 liters, if one modular methanol plant that will cost with the range of about 30 million US dollars will produce and has a lifespan of 25 liters of methanol in a day, then you have it dotted around the whole country. You can do the maths yourself. Divide $30 million, divide $2.3 billion by $30 million. Then you know how many modular methanol plants can be dotted. But here we are, government planning and executing a plan that would have this amount of money used to build a facility for just one location. Now, how do you haul raw materials to this location? How do you make sure that the raw material, the feedstock for the methanol production get to the methanol plant if you exhaust that which is on ground at the place where you have installed the plant? So for me and my team, we are of the opinion, and sincerely speaking, and rightly so, that we have to go back, sit down, and investors should be encouraged to come in, and government should create the enabling environment for these investors to come in, so that at the end of the day, by maximum end of 2015, we should have modular methanol plants operating in the country. If we do this, then you will not say that Nigerians have raw materials to run their day-to-day activities. Why am I sounding this way? What are the derivatives of methanol? We are usually talking about methanol in energy generation. That is not just it. Methanol has very serious use in the chemical sector, where as of 2018 statistics, Nigeria imports on record over $2 billion of chemical into the country. And these chemicals can actually be produced using methanol. But here we are paying fine for the gas that is being flared in the name of gas flare penalty, and using these funds not to remediate the methanol value chain or the gas sector. Rather, we use it to solve other pressing needs of the society. So for me, my take is a very simple one. We have to encourage, embrace, and put on ground. Encourage the investment, embrace the process, and put on ground a functioning methanol plant that will serve as a yardstick, that will serve as a solution point where other investors can copy from. Until we do that, we'll just be speaking, and nothing good will come out of speaking. We have to move to action. But right now, we are still doing our best. We are meeting stakeholders. We have our investment plans in place, and I think with the needed support from the government at the center and the will to implement proper implementation of national policy on methanol fuel production, we will have a methanol plant on ground. And once we have a methanol plant on ground, trust me, the economic fortunes of Nigerians will change.
When it comes to electricity, you know, I mentioned earlier on that it's not easy for Nigerians. Like, what other options would you recommend for renewable energy to Nigerians at this point in time, since the option of methanol is a work in progress? So what other available renewable energy options are there?
You see, I have this understanding that we don't just provide solutions. We look at the economic capacity of the people before we provide solutions. For instance, one of the alternative energy sources is solar, which is, I think we can see it being deployed for those that have the capacity to deploy. And what are you deploying it for? Is it for home use or office use or for production? If you have it for office use, accepted, because you have solar compatible or solar enabled electronic devices and that you can use solar energy for. But when you look at production, what machines can solar energy power? Because when we look at the real deployment of energy to solve our energy crisis, and we look at solar, then we should be saying solar should be used for domestic use and office use, but not for industrial use. Because when we talk about industrial use, its deployment, the scale of deployment, the investment, the capital base to have it properly deployed to solve energy problems, for our production lines to function effectively is very massive. When we talk about solar, it's all about getting energy, housing the energy in a battery, and deploying it when you need it. These batteries are not produced in the country, but the basic raw materials to produce this battery is in abundance in the country. Talking about lithium, what is government doing to ensure that we have a full-blown lithium value chain in Nigeria? I know that some government agencies and private companies are producing solar panels. What incentive is government giving to these companies such that the solar panel, the cost of a panel will be reduced for the ordinary man, so to say, that has certain amount of resources to invest in energy to make it affordable for such a person? Presently, for you to have energy in your house, not just to power your electric bulbs, but to serve your needs, you'll be talking about an investment that will not even meet the basic that the ordinary man, that what are they called? The person that earns the lowest in the rank cannot afford it. Then when you look at the man up there that also sees himself as meaningfully employed, that has access to resources, can his basic salary afford such a solution? The answer averagely is no. So government needs to come in. If we say we should deploy, you see, it's a mix. I won't be supporting the idea that we should deploy solar energy when the cost of deploying it is a challenge to citizens, and government has not done anything to empower citizens to have the capacity to deploy it for their use. Whereas other alternatives are there that government can equally go ahead and empower citizens by deploying them on behalf of citizens and giving citizens access to them. That is why I see come back to methanol. Power generation, the dams in the country, Nigeria has everything. People in government, or the will of the people. We are all government. Let me say this. The energy, the water bodies in Nigeria can generate enough energy for Nigeria. But what is Nigeria doing to harness this potential? We give contracts to the tune of amounts that we say are outrageous to solve a problem that is affecting everybody. There is no due diligence in deploying solutions. Once it is written on paper, money is allocated, those that conceive the ideas will even be left behind. For those that think they are in government, to have access to these ones and deploy what will not solve the reason for which, or it will not meet up the purpose for which these projects are being initiated. So it is not all sitting here and we're discussing what are the solutions. What about the deployment? What about the deployment? We have the capacity, but our challenge is the will. We will to properly deploy this. So now our alternative sources of energy, if we look at solar, fine and good, but what role will government play to ensure that the masses have access to this solution? Do the masses have the capacity for this solution? Can you use solar energy to iron your clothes? Can you use solar energy to heat water? So there are limitations there. Can solar energy be used for industrial use? Industrial, big, large-scale industrial production line. Can it be used for that? So if you're looking at energy mix, it should be, if you look at energy solutions, it should be an energy mix. The industry should have their solution. Domestic should have their solution. While we look at corporate solution, where you look at corporate headquarters of banks, I think there's a bank, I don't want to mention name here, in Lagos that commissioned or opened her headquarters that is solar powered, A to Z, off national grid. I heard that news some time ago. So if such exists, then there is hope for solar. But if there is hope for solar, how is it helping the people? Are we exporting our jobs? Because if the people are empowered, then they can afford whatever solutions there is in the market. But if they are not empowered, the solutions will be there. They can't access it. So for me, I would say that Nigeria needs an energy mix to solve energy crisis in different sectors. And this energy mix will comprise of both the hydro, the dams should come to life and generate to their utmost capacity. The natural renewable energy that we have should be put to use. You see, windmills generate electricity, but you can't deploy windmill in every part of the country. You can only deploy it where you have enough wind to generate the electricity. The infrastructure needed to have a windmill functioning, can individuals afford it? What is the government doing for this to be utilized, for masses, for the people to have access to this solution? So it all boils down to critical thinking, critical analysis, and coming up with a roadmap and following that roadmap. We can't be discussing this as individuals. Those government operators that have decisions that are expected to take decision and implement these decisions should actually be brought here to tell us what.
Sorry about that. We apologize for that technical hitch. Mr. Cyril must have had a small technical issue, but we'll get back to him shortly. And yes, to your question, Mr. Cyril, yes, we can actually use solar energy for all you mentioned to actually power our homes, to actually do basic things in our homes like ironing, like lights for electricity, for watching TV. We can also use solar to power our industries, our manufacturing industries. We can use solar energy both for domestic use and for official use also. But the question is, how can this solar energy be harnessed in large quantities and be made affordable for everybody, both for the masses, for people in the rural communities, for people living in urban centers also? That's the main issue right now. And you, like you rightfully said, we need more government intervention to create this energy mix so that we have people going with options actually for solar energy, for the hydro energy, for also, yes, like you rightfully mentioned, the windmill energy also. So we need those kind of options. Are you back with us, Mr. Cyril?
Yes, please, I'm here.
Yes, welcome back. Okay.
Just as
So I
saying,
said yes to your questions that solar energy can be used for as both for domestic use and for official use, both in offices and homes also, even in the manufacturing industry actually. So the issue is who can generate that much that much renewable energy options for Nigerians. So like you rightfully mentioned, we need government intervention, a public-private partnership to actually make this a reality for more and more Nigerians all over the country.
Let me say something. I was in a discussion with one of the solar experts, and when I asked him a simple question, how mature is an estate to have solar energy deployed to solve her needs? And he said, the challenge is that already people have electronic appliances that are not solar, that are not in tune with the solar energy usage. That means they are not solar compatible. So such will be a challenge when deploying solar energy, because if you don't have a device that is solar compatible, what you will meet is that your energy will just be drained unnecessarily. Then you will not, if you just oppose energy generated and usage, the economics will not balance. So it will be an effort in futility. So he still told me that one of the best things we should do is to create awareness for people to start moving their electronic devices from the conventional, the traditional electronic devices to solar-enabled or solar-compatible electronic devices, so that once there is the deployment of a solar farm around any vicinity, people can actually key into it because they have the devices that they can use for the proper usage of this consumption of this electricity that be generated. So for us to have a watertight solution, the populace have to be carried along. I think that's the essence of this discourse that we're having. The people have to be enlightened enough to know that, okay, when next I'm going to get a TV set, I should ask for a solar compatible television set. Whatever I want to buy from the market, I should ask for a solar compatible device. That way, we will be sure that people accepting the concept of rolling over their power usage to solar, so that anyhow it goes, the energy mix plan will sync. There'll be a synchronization process where the solutions that we get from those in the renewable energy sector and the power, the national grid, all of them will help us have a mix that will solve our problems.
Mr. Nutsu Jojo Cyril, and it's been great having you on Market Insight this morning. And thank you for sharing your insights on renewable energy options in Nigeria, particularly with an increased use of methanol, and also enlightening people on the advantages of solar energy and how to make it more affordable and created in large quantities for more and more Nigerian homes and offices. We look forward to having you on Market Insight again.